If you follow these 10 articulate voice tips, you will sound 10 times more articulate when you speak. And the first place that you need to start is with clear speech sounds. You cannot sound articulate if you don't use clear speech sounds when you speak. This means that every word that you use needs to be articulated clearly so that people can hear and understand what you have said. Pay particular attention to the L, T, and G sounds in words at the beginning or the end of the word. For example, saying already is not as clear as saying already. And saying can't is not as clear as saying can't. And saying going is not as clear as saying going. Do you see what I mean here? So how do you know if you need to improve your speech sounds, if you need to make them clearer? Well, if people ask you regularly to repeat what you've just said, then that is a sign that you are not speaking clearly enough for them to understand or for them to hear what you have said to them. And in that case, you need to pay more attention to your enunciation and make sure you produce clear speech sounds. Your vocabulary is another area that you need to focus on when you want to sound more articulate. And the key here is expanding your vocabulary. Because if you use the same vocabulary all of the time, when you share ideas in meetings, when you have conversations with your colleagues, your communication will get boring. People will lose interest and you'll get the reputation of being somebody who is not very articulate when you speak. Expanding your vocabulary is very easy to do, but it will take a little bit of effort on your behalf. So I encourage you to get a notebook, open a digital note, however you like to take notes. And every time you read a book, every time you read an article, every time you listen to a podcast episode, watch a YouTube video, even a movie, anytime you're exposed to some kind of information that is input into your mind, I want you to open up your mind, keep an eye out for vocabulary that you like, vocabulary that really makes what that person says stand out. And this is the kind of vocabulary I want you to record in your notebook. Record it and try to use it the next time that you have a conversation, the next time you share an idea, to help you sound more articulate when you speak. If you like what you've been learning so far in this video, then you will definitely like my weekly newsletter where I share additional tips and advice with you. If you want to sign up to that, the link is in the description below and you will get a free gift from me when you sign up. Completing your thoughts is another way for you to sound more articulate when you speak. And I find a lot of people are actually guilty of not completing their thoughts. Either they jump from one thought to another without finishing the first thought, or they start to share their thought in a group conversation and then stop halfway, hoping that someone else in the group will finish sharing their thought for them. In either case, it doesn't make you sound articulate. It doesn't make you sound like you are confident enough to actually share your thoughts yourself or to finish your thoughts entirely. So if you catch yourself doing this, then I encourage you to put in extra effort to finish your thoughts. If you need more time to organize your thoughts, that is okay. Pause for a couple of seconds. Give yourself some time to organize those thoughts in your mind and then continue speaking. But what I really want you to do is really to try to commit to finishing your thoughts. Don't let other people finish them for you and don't jump from one thought to another. Filler words in your communication are another way for you to sound inarticulate. Filler words, for example, are like, you know, right, well, or right. Basically, they're words or sounds that we use in our communication while we're thinking of what we're going to say next. But you might also use them when you're nervous or when you want to sound more casual to people you're talking to. Filler words here and there in your communication generally isn't a problem, but it's the overuse of filler words that can become problematic. So I encourage you to take note of if you use filler words and what filler words that you use. And I encourage you to replace them either with a pause for a couple of seconds so you can regroup and think about what you want to say next, or replace them with something that is more intelligent. And if you want to learn more about filler words and get some ideas of what you can say instead, then this video up here will help you with that. Another way to sound 10 times more articulate when you speak is to not overload your listener with too much information. So this can often happen if you are excited about what you are explaining to that person, or if you are nervous and you can start rambling. In either case, overloading your listener with too much information will not help you to sound articulate. Less is more when it comes to good communication. So I encourage you to simplify what you say. Pick out 2 to 3 key points that you want to share with the other person. Take time to flesh out each point individually, then move to the next one. And try not to ramble and try not to share unnecessary information either. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that clear speech sounds will help you to sound more articulate. Well, one reason as to why you may not have clear speech sounds is because you speak too fast. When you speak too fast, your tongue and your mouth can't keep up with the words that you are trying to say, and you end up meshing those words and those sounds all together. And this leads to unclear speech sounds, which leads to you sounding inarticulate. The average speaking rate for English speakers in the US is between 150 and 160 words per minute. So this is a good range to aim for. If you speak faster than this, then you risk meshing your speech sounds together and you sounding inarticulate as a result. And if you speak too quiet, this is another thing that can lead people to think you are inarticulate because they don't hear what you say. They don't hear clearly your speech sounds, and therefore they don't understand clearly what you are trying to tell them. Your volume should be loud enough for your audience to hear you, but keep in mind that this does change depending on the size of the audience that you're speaking to and the room size that you are speaking in. If you're speaking to a large audience at a conference or a large business meeting, you will need to increase your volume so that people can hear you and understand you clearly. If you're speaking to just one person in a small room and there's no ambient noise going on, then you can keep your volume relatively low. It's best to gauge from your audience as to whether you are speaking loud enough. If people are straining to hear you, if they're leaning forward, if they're trying to move closer to you, then this is a sign that you are not speaking loud enough for them to clearly hear what you're saying. So I encourage you to increase your volume to help you sound more articulate. Another mistake I see people make when they're communicating is they try to sound really intelligent, and this impacts you being able to sound articulate in a number of ways. It pushes you to use vocabulary that is complicated, that is long, that is hard for you to remember and maybe hard for you to pronounce as well, therefore leading to unclear speech sounds and you sounding inarticulate. It can alienate your listener because they might not be familiar with the vocabulary you're using or with what you are trying to tell them. They get confused and they think you are inarticulate because you can't explain in a way that they can understand. You might speak fast when you're trying to sound intelligent to make you look like you know what you're talking about, but this, like I mentioned earlier, leads to unclear speech sounds. And if the information you're explaining is complex, if it's over your head, then you might explain it in a confused way, which is going to make you sound inarticulate because people won't know what you're talking about. As I said before, less is more when it comes to good communication. So keep things simple. Use simple vocabulary, use simple sentence structures. Try to explain concepts in a simple way. Don't try to impress people by trying to sound overly intelligent because that can actually backfire on you. But if you do want to train yourself to explain complicated concepts in an intelligent way and sound articulate when you do that, there are a couple of things that you can do that I'm going to share in this point and the next one. And the first idea I want to share is to explain to people what you read or what you have read. So we all read, right? Articles, books. We also listen to podcast episodes. We also watch YouTube videos. We consume a lot of content, whether it's for work or whether it's for our personal use. How often do you take this content and try to explain it to somebody else? This is probably one of the most underutilized techniques to improve your communication. And it's something that if you stick to and you do on a regular basis, it will absolutely help you to improve your communication, not only to improve how you sound, how you can explain complicated concepts, how you can sound more articulate, but it also will help you to improve the way that you learn and also improve your ability to remember what you have learned as well. And my go-to resource for quality reading material when I'm short on time is short form, where I can find super-powered book summaries like Primal Leadership or The Effective Executive. Short forms book summaries are really great because they give me a good idea about what the book is about, so I can decide whether I actually want to buy that book later on and read it. If you want to check out short form, there is a discount link in the description below. And the next time that you read something interesting, whether it's with short form or whether it's with something else, I encourage you to pick out 2 to 3 key points that you can go on and explain to other people. In the next conversation you have, try to explain those 2 to 3 key points. See if that person understands what you're saying. If they don't, then rephrase what you're trying to explain to them and find a simpler way to articulate your thoughts. If you don't want to verbally explain to someone else what you have read about, then you can write about what you have read. So this is an activity you do on your own, and the benefit of this is you get more time to think about how you're going to organize your thoughts, how you're going to structure your writing, how you're going to communicate those thoughts, what words you're going to use. You get more time to think about all of these things and work out how you're actually going to communicate those ideas or that review you're doing in a more articulate and in a more compelling way. Because something happens when we write, and particularly something happens when we write by hand with a pen and paper. Our brain develops a stronger connection to what we write, which makes it more likely for us to remember what we are writing, and also more likely for us to recall that information, that structure, that vocabulary, and those concepts. We can better recall all of that at a later time if we want to go on and verbally explain it to somebody else. I don't know about you, but if I have written about a concept before I go and verbally talk to somebody else about it, I can actually picture that concept in my mind. I can picture what I have written in my mind, the paragraphs, the introduction, what I write in the middle, how I finish, the conclusion. I can picture all of that in my mind so that when I go and verbally explain it to somebody else, I have that map. I'm visualizing that map as I'm trying to explain that complicated concept to that person. I have a video on my channel that will help you immensely with this. It will take you through the read, write, speak method. It's an older video on my channel, but it is one of the most viewed videos, so it will definitely help you out. It is up here if you want to check it out. Thank you so much to all my channel members who are really helping to support my channel right now, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you got a lot of value from it, and I will see you next week in another video.